Breaking news tonight, the whispers have turned into a roar. The Iraqi dinar community is buzzing louder than ever before. All eyes are on a single date, tomorrow. Across online groups, investment chats, and private calls, one phrase is setting off shockwaves: International RV tomorrow. For years, talk of a revaluation has been the heartbeat of this space, but now something feels different. The tone has shifted. People aren't just curious, they're on edge, glued to their screens, waiting for any official confirmation. Could this truly be the moment that changes everything? For some, it's the dream of a lifetime. A windfall that could erase years of debt, transform families, and rewrite futures. For others, it's another familiar wave of excitement that may fade as quickly as it arrived. But tonight, the energy is undeniable. The anticipation is at a level we haven't seen in years. And with every hour that passes, the question grows louder: is tomorrow finally the day? For those who might be new to the story, let's quickly explain what's at stake. The term RV stands for revaluation, and in this case, it refers to a possible major increase in the value of the Iraqi dinar. This isn't just about Iraq making a small local adjustment. The phrase International RV means that this new value would be recognized globally, in foreign exchange markets, in banks around the world, and in global trade. If this happened, it would mean that dinar notes sitting in safes, drawers, and safety deposit boxes could suddenly be worth far more than they are today. People have been waiting years, even decades, for this step. Many purchased dinar when the value was extremely low, hoping that one day Iraq's economy would recover and the currency would soar. That, one day, is exactly what many are now pointing to: tomorrow. But is that hope based on facts or just another high point in a long cycle of rumors? The current wave of excitement began earlier this week when multiple unconfirmed reports started circulating in private online forums and social media groups. These reports claim that banks have been running secret tests on their internal systems, showing exchange rates for the dinar that are much higher than the current market rate. The idea is that banks need to test and prepare before any public announcement to make sure systems can handle the rush of transactions. Whether these reports are accurate or not, they've lit a fire in the community. The mere suggestion that banks could be preparing for a sudden change has people refreshing their apps, calling contacts in the financial sector, and staying up late into the night just to see if anything new breaks. It's a level of tension that feels like the calm before a storm. Except no one knows for sure if the storm will actually arrive. To understand why the stakes are so high, consider the math. A single 25,000 dinar note, at today's rate, isn't worth much more than a small dinner out. But if the value would rise to even $1 per dinar, that same note would suddenly be worth 25,000. At 30 per dinar, we're talking 75,000. At 4 or 5, the number jumps into six figures. For people who have more than one note, and many do, the totals become life-changing. We're talking about paying off homes, starting businesses, funding retirements, or completely changing lifestyles. This is why the phrase, International RV tomorrow, makes hearts race. Because it's not just about numbers on a screen, it's about possibility. It's about the difference between just getting by and finally having the kind of freedom that money can buy. Many in the dinar community have been on this ride for a very long time. Some bought in 10, 15, even 20 years ago. They've seen countless rumors come and go, heard dozens of confirmed dates but passed without a single change, and listened to experts who eventually disappeared from the conversation. Yet they've held on to their currency, believing that one day the payoff would come. And now, with whispers of tomorrow being the day, that patience is being tested yet again. Imagine holding on to something for over a decade, through all of life's ups and downs, and suddenly hearing that the moment you've been waiting for might be hours away. The emotional weight of that possibility is enormous. Some are cautious, afraid to hope too much after so many disappointments. Others are fully leaning into the excitement, choosing to believe that this time is truly different. But is there any evidence to support these new claims? While no official statement has been made, observers point to a few developments that could be fueling the latest wave of speculation. Iraq has recently signed new international agreements, and its oil production remains a massive source of revenue. There have also been quiet hints of changes in banking infrastructure, including updates to software systems and adjustments to foreign exchange platforms. Some believe these are signs that Iraq is aligning itself with international financial standards, a necessary step before any global revaluation could occur. Others argue that these changes happen all the time in the banking world and don't necessarily point to an imminent RV. That's the challenge with the dinar story, separating genuine progress from routine activity that gets hyped up into something more dramatic. One interesting point about these latest rumors is their timing. Major global financial systems are under pressure right now. Several countries are rethinking their currency reserves, trade strategies, and international partnerships. Some analysts believe that in times like these, nations with valuable resources, like Iraq's vast oil reserves, have a unique opportunity to strengthen their currency and negotiate from a position of power. If Iraq were to act now, it could align itself with a broader wave of global economic restructuring. This is why some in the dinar community believe that the timing of these whispers is not random. They see it as part of a bigger picture, where multiple factors are lining up to make a revaluation not just possible, but strategic. Of course, there's still a large group of skeptics who say they've heard it all before. They remind people that Iraq's government has a history of moving slowly when it comes to economic reform. They point out that massive changes like an RV are rarely, if ever, announced overnight without any official lead-up. And they warn that getting swept up in every rumor can lead to frustration, disappointment, and financial decisions made on pure emotion. These voices urge patience and careful analysis over hype and speculation. But even they admit, quietly, that the level of noise around this particular rumor cycle feels unusually high. Whether that means something real is happening remains to be seen. What's undeniable is the sheer level of attention this story is getting right now. Dinar-focused social media channels are flooded with posts, videos, and live discussions. Private group chats are buzzing late into the night. Screenshots of supposed bank rate tests are being shared like wildfire, even though they can't be verified. Every small detail, every vague hint, every unconfirmed inside tip gets dissected and debated for hours. For some, this is part of the fun. The chase, the puzzle, the community energy. For others, it's exhausting, a constant emotional roller coaster with no clear destination. But for better or worse, this is what happens when the possibility of a life-changing event seems like it might be right around the corner. Let's take a closer look at the bank testing rumors because they're one of the biggest drivers of the current excitement. According to multiple online discussions, certain banks have allegedly run internal simulations using dinar rates that are much higher than what's currently listed on the market. The logic behind this is straightforward. If a revaluation were to happen suddenly, banks would need to ensure their systems can handle the updated numbers without crashing or causing transaction errors. That means checking exchange software, training staff, and updating account policies in advance. Even if tomorrow is not the day, the very fact that testing might be taking place suggests preparation, and preparation, to many investors, is as good as a signal that change is coming. Of course, none of this has been confirmed by official sources, and it's possible these reports are exaggerated or misunderstood, but in a community built on years of anticipation, even the smallest hint of progress can set off a chain reaction of hope. Some of the most compelling stories right now are coming from long-term dinar holders. These are people who bought their currency years ago, often after hearing about Iraq's potential economic recovery following years of conflict. They've stored their notes carefully in safes, safety deposit boxes, or tucked away in personal files, waiting for this very moment. One holder described how their stack of notes had traveled with them through 3 different homes, several job changes, and major life events. For them, The idea of waking tomorrow to a completely different financial reality is almost overwhelming. It's not just about the money, it's about the validation that the decision they made years ago was the right one. They've faced ridicule from skeptics, frustration from false alarms, and the temptation to give up entirely now. With this rumor wave hitting hard, they feel their patience may finally be rewarded. Adding to the intrigue, some online discussions claim that government and financial officials have been unusually quiet in recent days. While silence from officials isn't unusual, some in the community interpret it as a sign that something significant is in motion. The reasoning goes like this. In the lead up to a major announcement, public statements are often reduced to void leaks or premature disclosures. That could explain the lack of new public information from Iraq's central bank or government offices. On the other hand, skeptics point out that silence could simply mean nothing is happening at all. But when combined with whispers about bank testing, international agreements, and global financial pressures, the quiet becomes part of the narrative, a blank space that people fill with their own expectations and predictions. In the absence of hard facts, perception often takes the lead, and perception right now is leaning toward anticipation. We also need to address the global context because it plays a major role in why some think this timing makes sense. Around the world, financial systems are adjusting to shifting trade relationships, inflation pressures, and changes in currency reserve strategies. Countries with valuable resources, like Iraq's oil, are in a stronger position to leverage their economic assets for currency stability or growth. Some believe that Iraq has been quietly strengthening its economic foundations for just this type of moment, building trade agreements, and aligning with international standards to prepare for a move that could shock the markets. If the dinar were to revalue now, it could send a strong signal of confidence to international investors. That's why some analysts think the whispers about tomorrow are more than just another rumor cycle. They see it as potentially part of a calculated economic strategy that aligns with larger global trends. Despite all the excitement, there is still a strong current of caution within the community. Many veteran investors remind newer participants that they've seen similar waves of hype before. They point to previous confirmed dates that passed quietly, leaving people disappointed and frustrated. Some even worry that too much public excitement could cause delays if officials feel the need to manage expectations or avoid market chaos. It's a balancing act between hope and realism, and for many the key is staying grounded. This means not making financial decisions based purely on rumors and avoiding overcommitment before any official confirmation. Still, even those who are cautious admit they'll be watching closely tomorrow. After all, in the dinar world, even a small side of movement, a minor rate adjustment, a new Forex listing, or a banking system update, can be enough to keep the dream alive for another round. The emotional energy right now is palpable. Social media is filled with people sharing what they would do if the RV really happened tomorrow. Some dream about paying off every debt they've ever had. Others talk about buying a new home, helping family members, or setting up charitable foundations. There's a lot of talk about freedom. The freedom to leave a job they dislike, to travel, to live life on their own terms. This emotional connection is part of why the dinar story has lasted so long. It's not just a financial investment. For many, it's an emotional one. They've invested hope, faith, and patience, often against the advice of friends and family. And when hope feels this close to reality, it becomes almost impossible to ignore. That's why, for many, the next 24 hours will be some of the longest they've experienced in years. Another factor driving the speculation is the pattern of how these rumor cycles work. In the past, bursts of excitement have often been tied to real, world events, even if the RV didn't happen immediately afterward. For example, banking tests or government meetings have sparked chatter that, while not instantly leading to revaluation, did eventually result in small but important changes. That's why some are saying that even if tomorrow isn't the full-scale RV, it could still bring meaningful progress. Maybe it's a partial rate change, a shift in how the dinar is traded internationally, or a policy announcement that sets the stage for the future. These small steps are sometimes overlooked in the rush for the big day. But for long-term holders, they are important milestones. Progress, even in small increments, keeps the belief alive and the community engaged. Now, let's imagine what happens if tomorrow actually brings the news people are hoping for. The moment a global revaluation is confirmed, banking systems would light up with new rates. Investors would rush to exchange points, lines would form at banks, and financial headlines would explode across the internet. Social media would be flooded with screenshots, videos, and live reactions. For many, it would be the moment of a lifetime, the payoff for years of waiting. But it would also bring new decisions. Do you exchange everything immediately, or hold some currency back in case the rate climbs higher? How do you handle sudden wealth? These are questions that serious holders have been discussing and preparing for, because the truth is, an RV doesn't just change your bank balance, it changes your entire life. And change, especially sudden change, requires careful thought and planning. So here we are, the night but date that has captured the full attention of the dinar world. The phrase, International RV Tomorrow, is everywhere, and the buzz is almost impossible to ignore. Will it be the day everything changes? Or will it be another chapter in a long story of anticipation and patience? Right now, no one can say for certain. What we do know is that hope is running high, discussions are intense, and the community is more united in attention than ever before. In less than 24 hours, we'll have our answer. Whether that answer is the life-changing news so many have dreamed of, or simply another step forward in a journey that has already lasted years. Until then, all eyes remain on tomorrow, as the world waits to see if this time, the whispers turn into reality.